I've quit electrical engineering not once, but twice. In that time period, I've traveled the world, started my own businesses, and in this video, I'll tell you some of the lessons that I've learned that can help you out in your career, and I'll also tell you why I'm back in electrical engineering now. My name is Nenad. I'm a Serbian-born electrical engineer, currently living in the US, where I've been for the majority of my life, and I very typically went to engineering school, as both of my parents are engineers as well, and I studied electrical engineering, as you do if you're Serbian. Some of you know one of our most famous Serbian engineers. I graduated, got my master's, and then I knew that I was going to be in the power industry. It interested me. I did my research in that. Also, some of my family members are also in that industry, so I was always drawn to it in a way. I started to work in the power industry, working with substations and designing them. After moving to America when I was 11 years old, I realized real quick that this is the land of opportunity, as many of you either have learned about or know if you currently live here. There are so many different things that you can do, and I have so many interests, so I became very, very entrepreneurial. And I always had this sort of bug in my ear, and that, oh gosh, I really wanted to do something else. I wanted to do something a little bit non-traditional. In many ways, I did want to sort of rebel against my parents and do my own thing, but also I wanted to pave my own path and prove to them that I can succeed in my own way. That was one of the reasons why I at first became a little bit, I'm not gonna say disappointed with just entering engineering, but I knew that I needed to try something else. Really, then I read the infamous book called The 4-Hour Workweek, which I'll bring up right here, and that totally set me on a different path, and this sort of idea that I had for my life was very, very nicely detailed and described in this book. If you want to be happy just working a career your entire life, do not read that book. I'm just kidding, it's good, it'll open up your mindset a little bit. Anyway, after I read that seminal work by Tim, it really made me realize, you know what, gosh, I can actually try to make this lifestyle possible. At the time, I was also with a girlfriend of mine who is now my wife, and both of us have European roots, so we just wanted to really just go travel, right? Money and career be damned. At this point, we weren't married, we didn't have any children or anything, and we just wanted to go experience the world, travel, spend time in Europe, try to make it to the other continents and see. So we realized real quick, you might be able to start working online or to negotiate a contract to where you could work online. And at this time also, I was getting into entrepreneurship. So a friend of mine and I, at nights after work, we would work on a couple different phone apps and different projects that we had dreamed up and trying to make it all happen. So we thought we were doing, you know, the Silicon Valley thing and all of that. But it was honestly a fantastic experience. I knew that if I just had more time to work on some of these other side projects, then maybe something will come of it. So I really wanted to give it a proper go. And it was hard for me to do this while I was working, you know, 40 to 50 hours a week, and then trying to do something at night, and it just wasn't really gonna happen. Also at the time too, the whole travel blogging thing was starting to happen. So my wife and I came up with this idea of, hey, listen, we wanna travel, now's our time to do it. We don't have much debt at all, so let's save up some money and try to make money online and go travel the world. Now mind you, this is a very novel idea 10 years ago, not so much now. However, I didn't necessarily wanna leave my career. Okay, I was in a really good spot. I was progressing through the company that I was working for. It was an engineering consulting company in the power industry, working with substations. So I was progressing quite well. But you know what? My boss was a really nice man, and I wanted to talk to him, just kind of let him know the truth of what I was thinking of doing. So I basically went up to him and I said, hey, listen, here's what I want to do. And he traveled a lot when he was younger as well. And I told him, look, ideally, you know, I don't want to leave the company, but I'd love to take a 6-month to a year-long sabbatical, sort of like a gap year, kind of like what they have in England. In Australia, they take a gap year, a lot of the kids do. So in America, they don't really do this, by the way. So at this point, I was about 4 years in. And progressing. I was an engineer level 3 at this point. Different companies and even different countries have different levels and things on rungs on this ladder. And this particular company I worked for, I believe there were 9 of them. So I was already getting to a 3, getting to a good spot. My salary had increased every single year. I'd gotten raises, promotions. So things were good, but I was a little bit unhappy because I wanted to try and I really wanted to give it a proper go with some of these online businesses that I was working with, and more importantly, I just really wanted to travel with my girlfriend who turned into my wife. Long story there, but I did propose to her on this trip. So lo and behold, I asked my boss and he basically says, no, the only thing we can do for you is you can stay in the system for an entire month and that's it. So basically I had to make a difficult choice in that I had to quit. But because I was in the power industry and because I was very valuable to my company at this level, and because I had really good relationships with my coworkers, my management, HR, and everybody else too, I knew that, if I did leave, there's probably a very good chance that I'd be able to come back on. Now, this was a very large company actually. So if I couldn't come on for this company, yeah, that would stink, but I would be able to come on for another company in the power space. And I did my research. I started scouting other job opportunities before I even left to see really what the market demand was for this type of role. And it confirmed everything that I had already assumed, in that there were tons of opportunities. So I knew that, okay, you know what? Even if we go for 6 months or a year or however long, and if nothing happens, we have catastrophic failure, none of the businesses take off, we make no money, we'll at least travel, have some awesome times, good experiences, and then a year later I can just come back and enter the industry again and restart if I absolutely have to. And at that point, I would have all of those travel experiences. So that was the first time that I quit. I put in my notice, we'd saved up some money, not even that much at that time. I'd have to look back, but I want to say it was $15,000 to $20,000. We were in our mid-20s. It was a beautiful time. We did not have any children, and that was one of my first big lessons that I had learned, and that is to take these risks and follow your dreams and aspirations. Do it when you're young. Do it when you're young, because then if something does not go right for you, you have time to restart. Okay, not to mention you probably have less baggage at this point. When you're a little bit older, so I'm in the next phase of life now, I have 2 children, it's gonna be hard for me just to give up everything and let's just go on a whim and start this business and travel. You can definitely do it, but the consequences are much greater. So start when you're young. If you've got big aspirations, do them when you're young. Now, I'm not saying just to go ahead and if you're already in engineering to quit your job, but what you should be trying to do is try to work on something on the side, some passions and hobbies, and they don't have to be a business. It could be whatever. It could be volunteering. It could be you learning new skills, whatever, new things, meeting new people. But do all that now, because, as it's so cliche, life is short, and 10 years, 20 years, 30 years go by like that. The truth is that we were spending more and more time on just the fun stuff and less time working on our businesses, and that in hindsight I realized actually was our goal. But it just sounded so good. I'm gonna work my businesses, and I did, but I had a couple hiccups. So I remember one time in Mexico, that second week I was there, we were there scheduled to be there for 6 weeks. Second week, my computer totally crashes out on me, and I go to get it repaired, and then it's down for about 2 weeks. So I didn't really do much on my businesses or anything for 2 weeks, and that sort of totally reset me, and I realized, oh, I'm on this crazy vacation. Yeah, bad attitude obviously, but I had a good time. And a couple instances like that happened to where it was up and down, up and down, up and down. Long story short, you run out of money. So then I started to think, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go back into engineering just to get us back up to speed. And really, this time, I wanted us to get a place. That was one of my goals. I wanted us to get a place and try to settle down. We were not ready for kids yet. And truth be told, we weren't really even done traveling, but I did want a little more stability. And there is definitely such a thing as too much of a good thing, because we realized that after a while, we were gone for about 9 months, you start to take things for granted. Okay, and that's so ridiculous because then you just go, oh, look, another beautiful city, or oh, look, another amazing beach or building or food. That's when you know that you're done and you need to stop. There's a pretty epic 50 Cent line back in the day. By the way, I'm a millennial kid. So he says, sunny days wouldn't be special if it wasn't for rain. Joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain. Death gotta be easy because, okay, I'm not getting into it. Can't always be on this permanent high. That doesn't really happen. You have to have downs and ups and down and up and all that. That's life really, right? So another big lesson is, look, life comes in cycles. You can't always be on a permanent high because guess what? That permanent high, yeah, the first time you experience it, you go like this, whoop, but then it starts to diminish. It starts to come down. And we've all experienced this one way or another. But after being on this permanent travel high for 9 months, it was very, very apparent. And I was so shocked that this could even happen. But yes, you have to have some stability and you have to have some lows, some downs to really kind of appreciate the highs. And that's the truth, right? So that's another big lesson, okay? Life comes in cycles. Life comes in cycles. I go back and I find a contract position working for a local utility over in Tampa, Florida. Okay, I grew up in that area and they needed this contract position for about 6 months. And I said, you know what, that's perfect. Let me take on this contract because that was wonderful. First of all, they paid quite well, more than I was getting before. No, I didn't have any benefits, but we were young and we took out our insurances and all that stuff too, just privately. But this contract, I wanted to see, okay, you know what, after this contract, am I still gonna wanna stay in engineering for now, or am I still not done working on my stuff, traveling and all the rest of that good stuff? Basically, I had the task of mapping out this entire utilities system and figuring out all of their substations and creating a checkout procedure for all of their equipment to make sure that it was tested properly and consistently. So I did that, and in fact, that contract ended up lasting about a year. In that time period, no, we still weren't done traveling. We did buy a nice little condo that was just for us. We wanted some independence, right? It was after being on the road, if you will, or being, staying in hotel rooms all the time. We just wanted some of our own place and our own space. And no, we did not want to live with our parents. And we're very, very thankful that we have the opportunity to live alone and all of these good things. So we did find a place in the meantime. But guess what? We still weren't done with our travel and with our business goals and ideas. In the meantime, I had been talking to a few friends, and because we had traveled so much, the travel industry was now becoming more of a social media thing, right? And this is back in 2017, let's say 2017, 2018. I had a business contact over in Spain, and we started working on this online business together that would help people out with their travel bookings and try to help them find deals. So long story short, the year is up. Now comes the moment of truth again. And I get another offer to stay with this utility. And man, that was a really tough decision. Because honestly, it was a really good position and I was in a good spot. I really liked the people that I worked with. But once again, the draw of the unknown, the draw of the chase, the draw of business, the draw of travel, and just that adventure, it kind of riled up inside me again. And I turned them down again. So I actually ended up quitting again, basically. This time I was determined to make it succeed. So at this point, I've got pretty good engineering experience, okay? Once again, I do that mental calculation in my head. Okay, at this point, I've got about 5.5 years of electrical engineering industry experience, and I wanna make this thing work, okay? I wanna try to make this entrepreneurship thing work, but once again, I always knew, hey, I've got a fantastic backup plan. We kick off, we go to Europe. I spent a few months in Spain working on this project, and that was the goal this time. It was not travel. Okay, the project's going well. There are ups and downs. There's some high moments, some low moments, all of this. We're getting lawyers involved and all this good stuff in a good way. While we were waiting for a couple things to pan out, we decided, you know what? let's go to Asia and just kind of hang out there, because we've always A, wanted to go to Asia, and B, just because our money would go further. So yep, we basically leave again for another 7-8 month long trip, long adventure, while at this point we're chasing these things down, and we are a lot more serious this time, I do have to say. Okay, we come back home, and now the plan is to keep pushing this whole thing. But guess what? Okay, like many things in life, it doesn't pan out. It doesn't fizzle out. There are a lot of reasons for it. Some mistakes I had made, a couple other things that were within my control, some things that were outside of my control. Second major lesson that I learned is that experiences and knowledge are priceless, because now I had done some non-traditional things. I had learned many different things, not anything related to engineering at all. It made me very, very confident, and it broadened my spectrum of thought, really. You know, I could look at things from different perspectives, truly because A, I'd seen many different perspectives. I had met so many different people. We had been to, I don't know, 50 plus countries, and it was just so fantastic to be able to start thinking like this, because most of us just grow up in our little bubbles, and that is all you know. So those experiences and the knowledge that I had picked up, those are assets now for me. It's not just the condo or anything else that you can, or stocks or whatever it is. No, those things ended up being my assets. Okay, so I knew now that if nothing worked out for me in my own business, I had basically worked on getting my own MBA, if you will. I sort of had created this program for myself, if you will, by starting my own businesses, chasing a couple ideas, going around the world, going to big meetings, pitching big companies, directors, owners, all these people. So it gave me a lot of confidence. That is priceless, and that is hard to learn from a textbook or let alone school. So that was some real world sort of knowledge, and those things are what propelled me to where I am today in many ways. So those experiences and knowledge is priceless. So always keep improving, keep reading books, and it doesn't have to be just industry related books or things for your career. Just keep growing, keep learning. That's how you really get to a very high level in anything that you're doing. I do this for a couple of years, and I also actually ended up working on a couple projects with some family members that were in engineering. That was also very fun too. So it kind of got my feet wet back a little bit again. Having your own company is not an easy thing, and it there were a lot of good lessons learned, a lot of ups and downs, but I then realized that, you know what, I wanted to be stable, and I wanted us to start a family and all of these things that go along with that, and just the business was not providing enough for me. It wasn't doing as well as I'd wanted it to be doing, and I wanted to enter back into the industry, but because of all of my previous experiences, now I was looking for something more than just a technical role. I was looking for a role that would get me to either managing projects or managing people, or a combination. A few years ago, I ended up starting to search again, and I was very flexible. I did not have to stay in one spot here, and I had a couple good interviews, and I really clicked with the company that I'm currently at now, and they offered me a role in a managerial position. But you see, I had taken a very different path to get here. I didn't climb the ranks of a certain company. No, I ended up sort of forging my own path, taking risks when I was younger, expanding my knowledge and experience base, therefore altering my own ideas about life and how things should be done, and so on and so forth. So there are many, many ways and many paths to it. It doesn't necessarily have to be the most traditional one that you've been taught from your parents or institutions or school or governments or what have you. You can always kind of forge your own path, especially in today's day and age. And that was one of the major lessons that I've learned too. One of the big ones now that I'm realizing is that happiness is very, very relative. It's easy to think that others are doing better than you, especially when you're looking at social media and all of these things, Instagram. It seems like everyone's living this amazing life, but you know what? Those are just highlight reels, right? Don't forget that. That's not always reality to most of these people. Okay, I'm filming a video out here on the beach. It's fantastic, but I'm not at the beach every day. And by sort of going on this big journey of not only travel, but entrepreneurship and life experiences, it made me realize that. Even while we were traveling, we sometimes longed for home. So it's all very relative, and now the situation that I'm in, I've got an amazing wife, incredible children, and those are some things that were so far from my mind when we were traveling, but now I wouldn't swap that for anything. So where am I gonna go from here? I don't know. Life is a crazy adventure. I'm very, very happy where I currently am. I'm really enjoying these little YouTube videos that I can post sometimes, and I'm hoping that I can help some other people with my stories and my experiences. You never know what life might bring for you. Just remember that it is ever changing, and you are always changing too, just like this tide that comes in and out, right? So to summarize, take some big risks. It's okay to quit. You can come back, okay? Which is what I've done now twice. I'm very happy now this time because I love the position that I'm in. I like the people that I work with, and I like the experiences that I've gained along the way, and it's making me appreciate it much more than before. Knowledge and experiences are priceless. Whatever you can every single day, try to gain some knowledge and some experiences, whether that means reading books or talking to somebody where you can learn something from, which by the way, that's basically everybody that you can learn anything from. Go to conferences, go to meetups, meet new people, go travel, have some awesome experiences. It's gonna expand your mind into what's possible, and it's just, by the way, the world, if you haven't noticed, is a very beautiful place. So go travel, go do these amazing things, and get out of your shell. It'll make you a stronger, more confident person. And then finally, don't compare yourself to others, and understand that happiness is relative. Only look at your own life and compare yourself to you, because this is your journey, and just try to get a little bit better if that's your goal every day. I hope this has helped you in some way, shape, or form, and if it has and you stayed to the end, thank you so much. Please give me a like and a subscribe and leave me a comment. Thank you so much.